Hi there, my name is Monty Dobson and I'm a variable rate fertilizer specialist with Echelon Ag. For the next 10 minutes, I will be giving a brief overview of the Echelon variable rate fertilizer strategy and how it can be incorporated into your farm. Echelon Ag is an independently owned and operated Saskatchewan-based company that specializes in variable rate fertilizer planning and consultation. Based in Weyburn, Saskatchewan, we work with progressive farmers across Western Canada to improve the efficiency and profitability of fertilizer applications using the latest technologies and farming practices. I am sure that you know that yield potential can vary greatly between different fields, even within the same field. Soil types react differently to fertilizer. Some areas may never yield well, while others have the potential for greater yields given the right opportunity. Recognizing this, it has proven beneficial for producers to adjust their nutrient rates they apply going across the field. Through the use of patented technology called Field Insight, we at Echelon use sophisticated satellite imagery, computer programming, and on-farm consultations to develop a customized variable rate nutrient plan for your fields and your farm. The Echelon Field Insight system shows you where and how much fertilizer is needed by following these simple steps. First of all, provide cropping and fertilizer information so that we can accurately assemble a no-cost scenario for your farm. We then compare the profitability of your flat rate fertilizer program to our variable rate fertilizer plan. If you decide that the Echelon variable rate nutrient plan makes sense for your farm, service fees will only be based on the acres that you select. Finally, we provide you with the appropriate prescription file to input into your variable rate equipment and follow up with extensive in-season service to ensure it works correctly. The result is higher yields, maximum fertilizer efficiency, and improved profitability. Using information gathered from the farmer, we generate, prepare, and analyze a variable rate scenario for each field based on high-resolution satellite imagery for the last 10 to 12 years of field history. Each analysis contains a detailed report. High-resolution imagery, 5 meter by 5 meter pixels, is utilized to analyze each map, providing over 30,000 data points for every 160 acres. This is very precise. The first map we analyze is called the YPM, or a yield potential map. This is an analysis based on historical averages and yields that you can expect by flat rating your existing fields. Areas in red are considered to have low yield potential, while areas in green and blue are considered to have medium to high yield potential versus the rest of the field. By flat rating a field at a specific rate of nitrogen fertilizer, the red areas are typically over-fertilized, while the areas in blue are not fertilized to the full yield potential, creating inefficiencies. The next map we'll look at is called the YPMC, or Variable Rate Yield Potential Map. Basically what we do is take your existing yield goals and push the top end by increasing the amount of fertilizer in the better producing areas of the field as indicated in blue. The basis of this analysis is to push the areas of the field in green and blue in order to optimize the additional fertilizer applied in those areas. The average yield push goal versus flat rating that we've found over the past few years in canola is between a 4 and 8 bushel increase. Wheat and durum we're seeing anywhere from a 6 to 10 bushel increase, and barley anywhere from an 8 to 12 bushel increase. The next image that we take and utilize is called the organic matter map. This provides us a guideline of the nitrogen release and residual N that is available in the soil via mineralization. The nitrogen release from mineralization plus the soil residual nitrogen make up the soil supply component of the yield equation. The difference in nitrogen demand is then calculated and made up with domestic fertilizer. We never want to short the crop of nutrients, so we like to err on the side of caution when determining the amount of soil credits to apply. As a guideline, we use 4 to 5 pounds of nitrogen mineralized per percent of organic matter and a 15 to 30 pound credit of residual nitrogen, regardless if a soil sample indicates higher levels of residual N. We want to err on the side of caution and be conservative in our figures so that we never short the crop throughout the growing season, thus maximizing your yield potential. The next map we look at is called the VRN, or Variable Rate Nitrogen Map. Every 5 meter by 5 meter pixel is analyzed and matched up to the crop's demand for nutrients based on the imagery in map number 2, or the yield potential map, with the yield goals pushed to their highest degree. The goal is to use a similar amount of fertilizer as your current flat rate applications, but redistribute it across the field into the better areas of the field that exhibit higher yield potential. Finally, we bring all these maps together for an analysis of the economics that compares the return on investment of flat rating versus variable rating applications. The two maps on the bottom show visually the profit potential in the different areas of the field. The areas in blue have been maximized by increasing the amount of fertilizer, correlating to the higher yield potential of those areas, while the areas in red have become more efficient by cutting back on the amount of fertilizer applied in those areas based on the yield potential of those areas. Once each field is analyzed by way of the previous 5 maps, we then create an economic summary for the whole farm. This factors in crop and fertilizer prices, profitability of flat rate versus variable rate per field and per crop, the Echelon consulting fees, and a total variable rate advantage for the whole farm and per acre. Our revenue goals of variable rating versus flat rate applications is a minimum of $40 an acre or a 5-to-1 return on your investment. Our track record shows even higher than this, but we always like to err on the side of caution and be conservative in our figures. One more thing to consider with this final analysis is we can not only move fertilizer around the field to create efficiencies, but we can also maximize your dollar per acre spent by moving it around the farm as well. An example of this would be to shave some nutrients from a lower value crop such as wheat and adding it into canola for a maximum return on investment. One of the most important factors in precision farming and variable rate fertility is the accuracy of the application and prescription that you can apply within your field. This slide shows an example of the accuracy of fertilizing for yield potential. The yellow areas were calculated to be within plus or minus 10% of the total nutrient demand of the crop. This worked out to 201 of 287 acres that were rate rated, or 70% of the field. The pink areas of this field were underapplied. In this case, the grower set the minimum application rate too low. The dark red areas are overapplied, which indicates that mineralization from soil organic matter was higher than what was accounted for in the model. We also do an extensive field scale trial program to compare the effectiveness of variable rate fertilizer applications versus flat rate check strips within the variable rate prescription. In this case, here's a field at Mydale, Saskatchewan, where the same amount of fertilizer was applied on average across both areas of the field. On the top and bottom are the variable rate strips you can see with the multicolors. The average fertilizer rate applied was 76 pounds of nitrogen for a 54 bushel and 53 bushel respective yield of durum in this case. The check strip or flat rate application rate was 76 pounds for a yield of 48 bushels an acre. Next is a comparison for canola. What we did in this case was put in 2 flat rate check strips within the variable rate prescription. The average fertilizer rate that was applied on the variable rate strips was 87 pounds an acre, ranging from 60 to 135 pounds of nitrogen. The yields correlated to 54, 51, and 46 bushels an acre. The flat rate check strips applied in the middle of the prescription averaged 81 pounds of nitrogen per acre, and the respective yields were 46 and 41 bushels an acre. So you can see the significant yield increase by variable rating and pushing the high yield potential areas of the field. In closing, I would like to thank you for considering the Echelon Variable Rate Nutrient Plan for your farming operation. Variable rate technology is the future of farming, and I'd be delighted for the opportunity to discuss how we can maximize the profitability on your farm. To ensure top-notch customer service and support, I will only be taking on a limited amount of clients for the spring of 2011. If you are interested in a free, no-obligation consultation and variable rate analysis personalized for your farm, please feel free to contact me right away by calling 306-536-8366 or email monty.dobson@echelonag.ca. Thanks and bye for now.